Are you ready? Turn it up! Yeah! Welcome to the noise inside your head. No holding back, we live on the edge. Let's go!
And welcome back into another episode of Sage Against the machine that talks about the working class issues, and we cut through with a loud voice because we are blunt and honest. I am your host, former U.S. Senate candidate Nathan Sage, and you know I am joined alongside my friend and colleague, who is a retired radio journalist with bylines in the New York Times, Time, USA Today, and many more publications. He writes at Deep Midwest Politics and Culture on Substack. Dr. Bob Leonard, say hello.
Hello. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Today, I am excited to have a guest on that I met before the campaign trail, really. Somebody who stood out to me because of the bluntness that she brings, the honesty that she brings. And I told her many, many times that I appreciated her blunt honesty with me. Jackie Norris, who is Jackie Norris, who's worked in presidential campaigns, public service. Jackie, you worked at the White House, you've worked in education, you worked in the business world, you spent many years understanding working class issues. I'm excited and very happy that you could join us today.
Thanks. It's going to be great. I'm really excited.
I didn't mention also it is her birthday, so happy birthday to Jackie Norris as well.
It's my birthday, and it's going to be a great day, a great year. I'm fired up about being 56 years old.
Hey, you already beat my dad, so you got to be proud. So one thing that I was excited to have you on, one thing I try everybody that I've had on, like who I've met on the campaign trail, I try to talk about moments on the campaign trail that stood out to me, because I want people to realize like how real it is, how actually it can be kind of fun, it can be kind of different. You're going through things, you're meeting people that it's just an experience. And when I met Jackie, I met her with my former campaign manager at your business before you decided to run. But what I love the most, like I left that meeting, Jackie, going like, she's a bulldog. Like she is, because you were just like, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm running. And you were unapologetic about it, and you were right there honest about it. And it was like, that's the type of person in my life that I love more than anything, because like I don't have to guess where the hell you're at. Like I just know, yes, she's going to be my opponent, but and this is what she's sticking to. So I just wanted to tell you first off, I really appreciate, and I've told you as many times, your blunt honesty with me and just who you are as a person.
I'm an acquired taste, definitely, because not everybody likes my bluntness, but I don't care. You know, at some point, it's got me where I am, telling what I think is my truth, and that's one of my core values that I've tried to live by. And I also would say, one of the things that I think people maybe don't realize so much on the campaign trail, and obviously the more intense it got, maybe the less friendly we all were, but it's really a fun opportunity when people choose to run and get to spend time with people who've put their name out there, because you know what, everybody's feeling super vulnerable and they're learning their craft and they're learning how it feels to be out there campaigning. But we had a lot of fun together.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like you see me get emotional, you see me get angry, you see me get sad, you've seen it, and I think that's what the campaign trail brings out. Like you get to see all these different sides of these candidates, and you don't. What I learned, because it was my first time doing this, is what I learned was I didn't know going into it who I would have to like lean on for advice or just have conversations with. I figured everybody was kind of going to be like, put a wall up, we're not going to talk to each other, but that's why I love Josh. That's why I love you. Like that, we were able to have those fun conversations, those just everyday, normal human connection conversations without worrying about anything. And it made me really appreciate that. It made me actually like know that campaigning, if I was going to be at an event, if you were going to be there or Josh was going to be there, that it was going to be someone fun to talk to. That's why I also love Ryan Peterman a lot, because he was the guy I used to go to all the time to just talk about things. So I wanted to make sure we had you on, obviously being a candidate, but you've been involved in politics a long time. You've seen a lot. You've been there a lot. You also have kids that are, like me, military, trying to fight for this country. So you stand out to me. But the one thing I wanted to ask you is, you've seen what's going on in this country. It got you motivated to run. Now you're seeing this race up front with Josh Turek and Ashley Henson. You're seeing these races across Iowa. How do you feel things are going here in Iowa for all our candidates? And if you're, I don't know, had any words of advice to candidates out there running, what are some of the words of advice you'd be giving them?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we all would say there's no doubt that there's an energy that feels very palpable with our candidates. And we have great candidates. We have great candidates. And I think what I love most about our candidates, and I'll speak specifically in this case to Josh, when I found out that he was running for Senate, I had my oh shit moment because I knew he is a formidable candidate. And one of the things about Josh that I love so much is that he is he's tenacious, right? And so you can't even you talk to him, but you look at him and you hear a story and you realize that I'm a mom of boys, like this guy is formidable and he's not going to stop and he's not going to stop because he knows how hard it is to get success, but he knows what success is like. So look, I think my honest what I hope people think about on this campaign is I look, I my identity is not just being a mom, but a big part of my life has been being a mom. And so I'm kind of a bulldog when it comes to wanting to make sure that kids are looked after. And so one of the things I hope, especially when we talk about water and when we talk about quality of life and when we talk about caregiving, is that we actually talk about it from the perspective of a parent. And I say that because you know what? If I'm a parent and I'm living in Cass County, I want my kids to be able to swim in a clean lake. Like let's not like overcomplicate this, right? I want to know that my kids are going to go to a good public school. And sometimes I think we get very caught up in, well, we can't talk about this because of agriculture, and then there's the Farm Bureau, and then there's all these politics. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I do hope that we remember that there are people living all across the state, and at the end of the day, they're trying to figure out like, how do I make sure my kids get a good education? They want to, swim in the lake, right? And do some basic things and have a place for their mom or dad or whatever it might be that's not going to bankrupt them. So I just hope we keep it real. And the way to keep it real is just actually to talk to people and listen to people across the state.
Absolutely. I love what you said there because you already mentioned water quality. And I feel like when it came to the issues that we were talking about on the campaign trail, it was at times hard to differentiate because we're all going, we want clean water. We want opportunities for our families to have and for people to actually live in this state. So, that's what I felt like it was harder on the campaign trail with everybody because we were all on the same side, all wanting, and it's crazy that we're in this world right now where we have to literally try to fight for clean water. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's the world we're in and that's the situation we're in. Dr. Bob, I know you could ask a million questions. I know you probably got a million for Jackie, but go ahead.
Well, I think clean water and cancer rates are sort of the defining, theme of all of the races. And I think we owe a debt of gratitude to Chris Jones,
Jones.
for really bringing it out and forward and saying it in a blunt way and saying everybody's at fault. And so I think that that's very interesting. What I really want to know from you, Jackie, well, there's a bunch of things I want to know from you, but if you were the nominee running against Ashley Henson, how would you be taking apart her record? How would you be, what would your campaign look like? And I think it'd be sort of a different kind of look to women running against each other. And that I think that would be very interesting in this race.
Two blondes. Here's the thing. It's actually it's a great question. And one of the things I know about myself is I know what I know. And I also know that I would like smart people around me, right? And I think one of the things that I do not have experience in is the absolute total lying that is happening on TV. and radio and mail. I mean, at some point, it's very hard to run a campaign if all that's being said are just lies about you. And so when I thought about the type of campaign that I'd run, one of the things that was really important to me was how do I run a values-based campaign? Because at the end of the day, if the one thing people remember about me is that I'll always tell the truth or that I will make decisions in a certain way. So, for example, the way I make decisions is, I think, tells you a lot about what type of elected official I'd be. And the way I make decisions, not every decision, but the way I make a lot of my decisions, especially as they impact big things or policy or other things, I have to make sure that I've heard every voice. And my business, which is market research, and everything I've ever done, all of my success, quite honestly, has been on stakeholder engagement, which means that good policy is made when you listen to every voice. And those voices aren't necessarily coming to you. You have to find those votes, right? You have to find those voices. And if they're not coming, you have to represent them. And so I think, what I would want people to know is that's how I make a decision. Now, does that tell them how I'm going to vote on X, Y, and Z? No, it doesn't. But it tells them how I would make a decision. Or in terms of a value, right? I mean, value for me is hard work. The way I got to where I am, hard work. I went to a state school. I had student loans. My first job, I made $17,500 and lived with 6 people. And how did I get to all of the great experiences that I've had? Hard work. And that's a value that I'd want to know people. So it doesn't completely answer your question, Bob, because I think in this day and age, with just lies, 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 it's very hard to address that. But I do think we have to always remember to show people our values, and because that's what they're going to remember.
Okay, let me follow up with that. Sure, values, telling the truth, all the lies that are out there.
Yeah.
I've talked with a lot of these people. I haven't talked with Ashley Hinson. I've only seen her on TV. But when you talk to Marionette Miller Meeks, she knows when she's lying. When you talk to Joni Ernst, she knows that she's lying. Zach Nunn is a little bit better at hiding when he's lying. Ashley Hinson is a stone cold liar.
Yes. Yep.
And I mean, so that's pretty formidable, but maybe people see that too.
So honestly, I think the way you have to humanize this stuff, right? Because, and I hate to say all politics is personal, but one of the reasons that I chose to run when Joni Ernst was in the race was because of her vote on Defense Secretary Hegseth. Because for me, that was the moment, right, where your character is defined. Because what you ran on and what you promised this state and this country, you actually just caved. So it was both personal to me because of where my kids are. My kids are both now, I say they're in the big Army and the big Air Force. And Nathan always laughs at that. But, and so the same thing with Ashley Hinson. Look, Ashley Hinson, she is responsible for allowing Donald Trump to be complicit. And you know what? As a result of that, there are kids dying, right? There are young people dying. And I mean, you just have to be very clear on what type of attack, but it's her fault. It's her fault because she is allowing Donald Trump to do what she is doing. And she could stand up, she could lie on the ground, she could kick and scream, she could chain herself to a desk, she could do a lot of things, but she is just letting him over and over and over just roll over Congress and the role that they have and their constitutional responsibility.
Thank you.
I will tell you, in the Marine Corps, we call it the fleet. You're joining the fleet. The Army was always funny because they'd be like, wait till you get to the real Army. I don't know what they say in the Air Force, but we talked about a minute there about, a water quality, but one of the issues that I know, Jackie, that is near and dear to your heart is public education. I know your background in public education, and in Iowa, that has also been brought to the light of these vouchers and what's going on, and the issues with funding our public education. Iowa used to be so good in education. That's all we hear all the time is how great we were, and now how bad we are. looking at that aspect and that issue that we have, are there any things that you see these candidates out there bringing the issue to light, obviously, but are there any things that you see from almost like a administrative side of the public education that you want them to talk about or you want them to talk less about? Is there anything that like that stands out to you
Yeah.
where you're like, they got the message, but we need to talk more about this?
So I'd say a couple of things. I think it's a misnomer to say public education isn't working just because of funding,
Mm,
because I think that's actually not true. I think that funding is a big part of it, but I actually think public education and the way, not just the way we deliver, but what we're actually delivering is getting less and less relevant to our kids. And when I think about K through 12, and my son Sam once drew out this map, and I thought it was kind of genius. But it was basically like, look, there's a whole bunch of stuff I have to learn, the history, the English, all of that type of stuff. But at some point, like when I hit ninth grade, I'm thinking differently. I'm thinking about what does it look like to interact with people in settings. Like for us, one of the things I'm really proud at Des Moines Public Schools is we acknowledged that we were not delivering the best in class education. And so we finally said out loud, every kid's going to graduate with a plan. That plan could be a job, but you know what? If they're getting a job, they better know what to ask for. Ask for benefits, like you ask the questions that you should be asking before you sign on the dotted line to make sure that you are getting health insurance or advocating for yourself, or that you're going to go trades, or that you're going to go to college and you've got a plan, and or go to the military, which is a great career pathway for some people. So I think that I think relevance of what's being taught in the classroom, I think we have to really have a conversation about that. And the second thing that I would say is um, when I was chair of the Des Moines Public Schools, people would come to me, and they were typically Democrats who knew me and would just be torn apart at the thought that they would move their son or daughter to a different school because they believe in the value and promise of public education. But at the same time, public education was not serving their kids well enough. And that's a struggle that I think we don't always acknowledge. Like at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for your child. And it's a hard thing, right? To see people choose to move their kids. Maybe they've chosen to use and participate in educational savings accounts. Maybe they have the means and the money, which God bless them, to send them to a private school, or maybe they're going to a suburban school. And so I think I just want to acknowledge, and I think we have to be careful that we don't vilify everybody who is, moving their kids out of public education, because at the end of the day, your job as a parent is to do the best you can for your child. And even if that means being a little bit selfish. So it's a weighty fight right now between, I think, amongst Democrats who believe in the power of public education, but also have to, support their children.
Absolutely. I love what you said there about, making a plan. It's the same thought process of making a plan of graduating high school, where you're going to be and whatever, is the same way of also when you get out of the military, trying to create a plan to make sure that you're set up for success as well. It continues
Yeah.
to be that way going down the road. And I like what you said there about about education. I like that. I agree with you. I think that I don't want to say Democrats, but I think in general, a lot of people tend to hear the issues with public schools and go, okay, let's use this to get elected. It's like, no, like we need to look at public schools as, in the way I like to look at it is like, okay, it's a work in progress. And to me, the work never stops. You got to keep putting more into it to be able to get better out of it. That's the way I like to look at it. And I don't like to demonize people because they see it, like you said, like as a parent, you got to look at it and go, okay, what is the best option for me and my family? What it makes sense for me and my family and my kids. Like if your kid learns different, if your kid, has special issues or whatever, you got to look at it that way. And I like that idea of not demonizing public schools or not demonizing in general schools in general. I just think in general, we all need to take a step back and go like, we're all in this world. where things are harder. Public schools are harder. It's harder to get money. It's harder to do a lot of things. And I think that's what we should be looking back at, as going, as a candidate, as Josh Turek, or as someone in, like, what can we do to make sure that we're giving all the parents and all kids the best opportunities for their families and for their kids? I think that's the best way to do it and way to talk about it, as opposed to trying to demonize and tear everything down, because I feel like so many candidates do that because it's easy for them to do it.
Yeah, I want to say one thing that I forgot that I think is really important, which is, when public education was started, we all talked about it as the great equalizer. And part of what we've got now is the landscape's different. And so the kids that are coming to schools are on such varying levels of key systems issues like living in poverty, homelessness, not having access to food. So there's a lot of things that schools are doing now that they didn't have to do in the past. And you can either get frustrated about it and say, well, the parents have to deal with that. Or as a school, you say, like, to get our kids to have public school serve as the great equalizer, we actually have to get our kids to be in a place where they can learn. The last thing I would say is I would like to hear a lot more talk about technology and cell phones. There's a role for technology in education, and technology can help kids learn to read. But until we just say out loud that our kids are addicted to cell phones, and by the way, so are adults, and there's no place for a cell phone in a classroom in I would say K through 8. And then in 9th grade, you start learning about responsible use of technology, and then you bring that into adulthood. So I feel really strongly about it. So thank you for letting me say that.
I agree. Here's what I want to say about that, and I want to piggyback off that really quick. My mom was a daycare teacher for a long time, and she told me that the hardest part about that process was the amount of parents that would want would want the daycare teacher to parent their kid and teach their kid stuff that the parents should be teaching. And then now you have it where parents, like, when it comes to technology, like, parents are also, a lot of them are also against, like, hey, I need to be able to reach my kid whenever I need to reach my kid. You can't take that away from me. And it's like, we're not trying to do that. I think in general, it's trying to make it a better experience for everybody across the board. I think parents in general need to take more responsibility of what's going on, what they're giving their kids, what their opportunity, and the issues that are going on with their children, and quit trying to, it's an instinctive. Nobody ever wants to take blame for something, right? Never wants to say it's my fault. But I think that more parents need to reflect in, and stop demonizing public schools or demonizing teachers who are doing the best they can with what they have, and start looking inward and going, what can I do? And my thought process right off the bat is like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't even allow my kid to go to school with a cell phone. Like, just little things like that. I wish more parents would take time to self-reflect, as opposed to, it's so much easier to point the finger and blame people than it is to point the finger back at yourself. But I think that is the issue.
Great point.
Completely. I think there needs to be more. Maybe there's a way we can get public schools, and just schools in general, to teachers to interact, and parents to interact better, to be able to be on the same page with a lot of the things that are going on. Dr. Bob, your thoughts?
Well, I think that's absolutely true that parents need to be more involved. And personal example, when our kids were still in school, as I was always stunned by how few parents were at parent-teacher conferences. I mean, it was just like, do you care? And our kids did well. I mean, there were issues, of course, as there were with all kids, but like, one of our kids would say, you don't need to go. I'm doing great. I've got great grades. I still wanted to hear the teacher tell us that. And I wanted to give the teacher an opportunity, to say what they wanted to say, and also to thank them for what they were doing. And so I think you're absolutely right on that. And to back up a little bit, and I agree with everything that you've said about schools and not demonizing people and all of that, and recognizing people are making the right decisions. And the decisions elected Republicans are making are to strip our schools to the bare bones. We can't let them get away with this. They want it so that the public schools only have to take care of the kids that the private, mostly Christian schools don't want. That's what their goal is. And let's not ever forget that.
Appreciate that. Appreciate the fight.
Yeah. Jackie, I think we're getting down on time on here. One thing I wanted to ask you, you've been involved with the president. You've done your own business. You've been in schools and doing that stuff. You've ran for office now. What's the next page on the Jackie Norris life story? What I know, I would assume that you're going to spend a lot of times hanging out with your military kids as much as possible and enjoying that life. But my question is, what's the next? Are we going to see you run for office again, or what's the next step for you?
It's such a great question. Because it's my birthday, I actually last night just wrote this really long post because it's been kind of a crappy year, but it's been an amazing year. And one of the things that I realized, and no offense to my children, I love my children. I have poured my energy and spirit and heart into my children. When I dropped off Cole at Fort Rucker, after about 2 days, and I had helped Hunter and Sam's on his way, I was like, peace out. I'm done. Like, I have done a great job raising my kids with core values. I'm always there for them. I'm always going to cheerlead and champion for them. But I actually, look, I probably have what, 10, 15 working years left, and I am going to do something. Now, what is that? I have no idea, honestly. I mean, it's like, hey, anybody hiring? Like, will I run for office? I don't know. I mean, I'm not. Here's the problem is I think some people like they're very like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, and that's going to allow me to run for this office. And like they've got a path. I don't have a path. Like, look at me. I loved my job as chair of the school board, and I wanted to be a US senator. Like, come on, I just want to do something good. And so, really for me, a purpose and meaning, right? I mean, that's really what I'm looking for. Obviously, I have to get paid, right? I mean, I've got to work and I have to get paid. But for me, it's about purpose and meaning. And I'd love for it to be here in this state in some way.
I think it's interesting you mentioned Fort Rucker. That was the thing that stood out to me because I actually lived in Dothan, Alabama for a while as a mechanic down there. So I know Fort Rucker. Actually, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I actually applied to one of the first jobs I tried to get was a security job on Fort Rucker because I was just trying to support my family. So I think that's an interesting
Yeah.
small world.
Dothan, spent some time there.
Yep, yep. Peanut Festival down there. But anyways, Dr. Bob, you got any more last questions for Jackie before we let her go?
Well, I'm encouraged to, well, I mean, I didn't have any doubt that you wouldn't be pursuing something with meaning, trying to make a difference. You've always done that. So I had no doubt. I mean, it was good to hear, but I had no doubt. You didn't have to tell me that. But I'm very interested in what it is. And I hope, I don't know, maybe sort of selfishly, I hope it's public facing so that we can see what you're doing and making a difference rather than, sort of internal to some big corporation or something making a difference there.
Yeah.
I hope it's public facing.
I hope so too. I mean, I do. Look, if I could wave my magic wand, I think that, I mean, I always get emotional, so it's really hard. Like, I feel really passionately about the care economy and caregivers who I think are completely unrecognized and underpaid. And in much the same way, I feel passionately about, kids 0 through 5 or kids that can't read at third grade. So, I mean, there's a lot of passion here, and I hope it plays out in a way that I can do something really great because that's what I feel like doing.
I love that, Jackie, and I will say that
Sorry, I always get
no,
teary when
I feel the exact same way because I feel like you and me poured ourselves into something because we care a lot, because we have big hearts, because we want what's best for so many other people across this country. And nobody really understands what it's like to kind of just have that fade away where you're in that. And it's hard to get over, it's hard to deal with. But at the same time, the people that love us, the people that care about us, the people that want us to succeed are still there. And the people that are out there watching you, Jackie, just like they're watching me, are the same way. They're rooting for us and they want us to succeed. And so I'm very excited. I was very happy to have you on, especially now it's something I know that's your birthday, to be on here with us, because I want people to know, like, I truly the reason I said the things I said in the primary about certain people is because at the end of the day, I want good people in public service. I want good people who are here to help people and here to actually fight for people. And that's who you are. That's why I was so excited to have you on here and be a part of this, because I know that people are going to see the real you. And I hope, like Dr. Bob says, that we see the real you more and more. And because Iowa needs you, just like they need me, we need to continue to do what we can to make sure that the people that don't have a voice have a voice. So I just want to say, I appreciate you so much coming on. I appreciate you so much from the time I met you to now. I hope to have you on again, because I feel like we could chat about a lot of different things and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we could.
Absolutely. But I just want to say I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much. And we're all rooting for you. We'll see where Jackie Norris ends up, and we'll see, how that turns out in the future.
Thanks to both of you. I really appreciate this and absolutely respect both of you. So it was an honor, and it was a great birthday present. Okay.
Happy birthday,
Thank
Jackie.
you.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
And thank you again to Jackie Norris for joining us on the Sage Against Machine podcast. Always great catching up with Jackie. Like I said before, I really, really appreciate her and who she's been to me since I decided to run and where I'm at now. So really, really appreciate Jackie Norris. Her husband, John, who does a lot with water quality, really appreciate them for who they are. But now it's time to move to our headlines here on the Sage Against Machine podcast. And I only got one national headline today because I wanted to talk about that, and then I want to get into why I'm cussing. But headlines that I wanted to get into, Washington, D.C. National Guard deployment has been extended until 2029. Local control, civil liberties, what's the deployment mean for American politics? Dr. Bob, we saw this last year. I know I commented and talked about it when I was running for United States Senate about the issue. It's all about trying to, and I think you agree with me about this, I think it's trying to get people used to a police state. I think that having military in uniform in these communities in Washington, D.C. specific is to try to get people to almost get used to the fact that there's people walking around in military, because that's not what we're used to in America. We're used to policing and that's it. And we see our military being deployed but we don't see them in our streets and what we've seen. The administration will point to crime rates falling down in Washington, D.C. The thing is, the crime rates were already falling down before the National Guard got there. I believe at the time it was around 4,600 troops went to Washington, D.C. And my thought process right off the bat as a taxpayer is like, how the hell are we paying for all of this? How is this good for taxpayer money to be used? And what we've learned in that short amount of time, it's expensive, but that's what this administration does. That's why we're fighting Iran right now. They don't seem to care about the budget, the deficit. They don't care about taxpayer money. They just want to make sure that people understand that they're in control is the way I look at it. I think it's crazy that they're going to extend to 2029, considering that's 3 years away. I don't understand the reasoning for it. What are your thoughts, Dr. Bob?
Well, it's a waste of money, and it's a waste of young people's lives. I mean, talking to people who live there, they're just standing around not doing anything. Why do we want them standing around not doing anything? There's all kinds of productive things that they could be doing, more training, whatever their expertise is. So it's like a double waste, So I think that's a shame. And it is. They just want us to be used to seeing troops on the streets. When I was working in Mexico in the 1990s and early 2000s, I was used to seeing military on the streets all the time in Mexico, and with automatic weapons, and you just got used to it. And it wasn't a good feeling. It didn't feel like home. And now they want us to be used to that. I don't know if it's still the same way in Mexico or not. I suspect that it is. But and it's the same forays that they've made with ICE agents into different cities. It's so when they want to exert power, we're used to it and we're sort of complicit, and we'll be more easily handled, I think. But I think that's what they think, that we're used to it and we'll be complicit. But I don't know if we're going to do that or not. But no, it's just a waste. I just think those are young people mostly, at the peak of their lives, just, really getting started, some of them, and they're just standing around. That just is such a waste of human potential.
I agree. I also think it's this as well. I think that the big issue that I don't like about it is it gives a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to the military, right? Like most of the people in Washington, D.C. are going to be like anti military because they feel like they've been over policed. And I think that is the thing that I don't like about it. I also feel like, you know, this seems to be to me like a trying to think of a way to say it. Like, like those guys that drive those big trucks because they feel like they have to compensate for something. They have their huge exhaust and they're just trying to. That's what it feels like with this and Donald Trump is like he's doing it because he can do it, because he's going to show that he's a tough guy by doing this. But the thing that's hilarious to me is like it doesn't work in other cities. It doesn't work in other areas where he's tried to. You put it in LA and they protest against it and you cause havoc and riots like that. He's doing it in Washington D.C. because he feels like that is the best way to show his power. It's not about it's to me it's not about crime rates. It's not about protecting people. It's about trying to show your little baby muscles to show that you're a tough guy to people that you don't really need. It's like flexing on it's like a 20-year-old kid flexing on an elderly person. Like it doesn't make any sense, but it's just to make that person feel get better or bigger about themselves. That's what it feels like. And it's just, I don't know. I know when I was in DC, I met a lot of people who had talked about it, and this is before the 250th celebration. They're like, he's gonna have like tanks go through our streets, and we're the ones that have to pay for the streets to be fixed. And it blatantly not caring, I think, is the biggest issue there. And I just don't understand how anybody looks at this and goes, yes, this is what we need in Washington D.C. I think there's other ways to handle things. I think the police force is perfectly capable of making it work. And I'm just so tired of watching the military in general, from the Iran war to now to what we've seen with Marines in LA, being treated as Donald Trump's personal, attack force or personal security force or whatever it is. I just can't stand the way this administration is treating military uniforms, people in uniforms, but then also at the same time, how many times have we heard him talk about how, the suckers and losers are the veterans and the people that who have done it. So it's like he thinks of them as high in high regards as they're powerful, but then when they're done being in the military, he thinks of them as losers and suckers and whatever. So it's just something that every time I see it, when I saw this headline, it automatically just gets under my skin because it makes me fucking mad that we have this going on. And I just can't understand why we would extend for 3 years when it doesn't seem like we need that in this country. And I guess we'll see come election time frame how that all plays out. But that was my thoughts in regard to it, Dr. Bob.
Well, and this is classic authoritarian playbook. It's just like communist North Korea. It's like Putin. It's like, authoritarians everywhere. They assemble their personal army. Remember, he said they're my generals and, monuments to himself, his face hanging from buildings. It's all the symbolism of an authoritarian regime.
Yeah, it's some guy that goes, well, I can stop me. Like that's what it is, and it's just I don't know. It's weird. It makes me wonder what he's compensating for, and I don't really want to know, but it is what it is. Speaking of compensating for something, now it's our time to talk about why Nathan's cussing, and I can't wait to do this. This is why Nathan is cussing for today, and I feel like this is something that I'm going to just be cussing about for a while because it's just stupidity at its finest. So let's read the article really quick. Pull it up really quick. Here it is. I just had it in front of me. There it is. Maybe not. Okay, so at last month's Family Leadership Summit in Des Moines, Joe Mitchell, a Republican running for U.S. Congress in the state's second congressional district, jabbed at his Democratic opponent, State Representative Reverend Lindsey James, who we've had on this show, saying that she calls herself a pastor. He then turned to the crowd and conservative evangelistical, I can't even say it, evangelical pastor, and coined a term he said applies to James, a Presbyterian minister. He called her a Pino, a pastor in name only. And then I know he doubled down on Twitter by saying that his niece and nephew who watch Veggie Tales know more about Christianity than Lindsey James. Before I get into this, before I start going off, Dr. Bob, you saw that stuff, you read it. I want you to give your unfiltered opinion of Joe Mitchell and what he said about Lindsey James and just what he says about Christianity in general.
Well, at first it was surprising that he would, say that when he's so unaccomplished himself, and that the whole, goal of MAGA and the white Christian nationalist movement, um, it's sort of expected. They have to devalue the people that have real, degrees. I'm sure that most people that are pastors have Masters of Divinity degrees, and it's a requirement. Now, Republicans don't like that. They don't like expertise. They don't like education, and they prefer their pastors to be not so well educated. There's large denominations, including somebody that, a member of this organization that's high in the Republican Party. I'm not going to say what it is, what church it is, but they essentially do diploma mills to produce their preachers. They want them not to know very much. You can take most of the degrees online. You can do it in 1 to 3 months, and then you're a pastor. And so this is the on the right constant undermining of education. And it's also because they think that the pastors are elites, and they are in many ways because they're educated, and they have a body of knowledge that is much deeper and wider than theirs. And so, of course, they're going to undervalue that. Look what they did to Fauci the other day, putting him, on, under subpoena to just demolish him. And so they're doing the same kind of thing wherever they find expertise. And what really pisses me off about it, and this wasn't just Lindsey James, it was also directed at Sarah Trone Garriott, and they're doing the same thing in Texas with James Tellerico. Their pastors, lefty pastors, are running all over the country, including, I believe, for the governorship of Kansas. But they've got to undermine it. And so that's what they're doing, just, quite simply. And it's really pathetic. They're leading us into the new dark age. And what really pisses me off about it is all of these people that I know of, Sarah Trone Garriott, Lindsey James, James Tellerico, they have a body of work that is service to humanity, deep service to humanity. Whether you're a member of their faith or not, you have to recognize that service to humanity. And this Mitchell has none of that. He doesn't do any of that. He doesn't know anything about it. He's, silver spoon, handed positions in his family. It's just, he's this little snotty-nosed brat undermining our religious leaders running for office. So it's not unexpected from Republicans or snotty-nosed brats.
Yeah, here's my take. So, first of all, I think it's interesting a rhino is calling somebody a Pino, because we know that maggots are not, and MAGA people are not necessarily Republicans. We've talked about how they're not conservative, Dr. Bob. So I think that is the first thing, and I agree with you. I think that it's any way that they can take away from somebody being better than them, they have to knock them down a few levels. That's what they're going to do. The things that are said about Joe Mitchell, the things that are said about him are blatant, obvious, blunt, truthful things. We know Lindsey. We've been around Lindsey. We know her, how important her faith is to her. And so to me, that was a big slap in the face to her, and it annoyed the shit out of me. But here's the thing, like, when the fuck did Christianity become a fucking competition? Can somebody tell me that? Like, do you get extra gold stars from Jesus if you pray 3 times as opposed to 2 times a day? Like, is there some sort of fucking competition that we're all trying to go for? Like, at the end of the day, we all get to one place in our life, and that's the end of it, and we move on to the next phase or whatever comes after this world. And if it makes people like to have their faith, to have their belief feel better, and love thy neighbor, and that makes them feel better, then Why are we trying to knock any of that down? Why are we using that as a reason to tear someone like, and especially in the world where everybody can probably agree that things aren't going the way we want it in America, or things aren't really going the way we want it in this state. So for anybody to knock down a religion, like, to me, that's throwing stones in glass houses. Like, what are we doing, right? And so when I saw that and I heard about it, and then I saw the Veggie Tales thing, and I feel like Liz from Iowa had a great response to this. She posted on social media where she's like, glad his nephews know about Veggie Tales, but if he had watched Veggie Tales, he'd learn that the characters on Veggie Tales know how to treat their neighbors, know how to treat your people with respect. That's a lesson that you should be learning while watching Veggie Tales. But apparently Joe Mitchell doesn't have time. He only pulls what he wants to talk about to use as political fodder instead of actually real issues that are coming up between the campaigns, because he can't look at Lindsay and go, hey, she does this, and this, these are bad. No, he knows that Lindsay is perfect for that position, running for Congress. She should be there. He knows that. And so he has to do everything he can with his little man power to tear it down. Here's my thing. Now we want to talk about issues. That's one thing. And you want to get petty, I'll get petty all day. Here's how I think about Joe Mitchell's political legacy. Joe Mitchell's political legacy, Dr. Bob, is like a suicide note written in invisible ink. Nobody knows what the fuck happened. They just know it's horrible. That's what Joe Mitchell is. He looks like he looks like he stole his wardrobe from Tucker Carlson, if I can talk. He looks like he stole his wardrobe from Tucker Carlson, and he looks like his mom pats him on the head and goes, "Man, you're a handsome young boy." That's what Joe Mitchell looks to me. He doesn't look like he has an actual thought in his own fucking head. He looks like he has to steal from everybody and then take credit for them. He looks like his dad's a fucking lawyer. He looks like somebody that doesn't know the inside and outside of just being a basic human fucking being and has everything fucking handed to him. And that's the shit that drives me nuts, because these fucking these toxic fucking male figures, these guys that try to be alpha males who wear a sports fucking jacket with a polo shirt, are the most annoying fucking people on the planet to me, because they have never done anything with real life. All they have is these rich assholes giving them money and telling them to say certain things, and they think they're fucking all tough and powerful because of it. The actuality, Lindsey James has seen more devastation, more heartache, more issues, and faced those and had harder conversations with people than Joe Mitchell could ever fucking fathom. Because all Joe Mitchell cares about is sucking up to Donald Trump and making sure that we continue to fucking hate each other in this country instead of bringing people together. And it drives me. I'm shaking right now because I'm so fucking irritated by this. Like, I can't believe that we have this guy who's never done a thing in his fucking life trying to rip someone down for their faith. It blows my fucking mind. And here we are again in America, where so many people across this country believe whatever the fuck they want to believe. Dr. Bob, you believe what you would believe. I believe what I believe, and you're not going to fucking tell me anything different, right? You're not going to convince me otherwise. And I think so many people across this country, so many independents are so fucking turned off from politics because we get people like this that if you don't believe the way they believe, then you're a pile of shit. That is what is the problem. We got to stop tearing each other down on what they believe, but talk about the policy and talk about the issues. Those are the things that we need to talk about, not if Lindsey James is Christian enough or if she's an actual pastor. Like, fuck you. That's all I gotta say. Like, I can't believe that we're even having this discussion. And then when you see this asshole fucking say these things, he has that little cocksucker little grin on his face that you just want to stuff your fucking fist into. That's how I feel, because it's like, I know how passionate Lindsay is about caring about people and how much her faith means to her. And we have this little guy that's never done anything in his life move to an area just so he could try to get some sort of power, suck up to this administration and all these Republicans, deep throat them as much as he fucking can, to make sure that he has the opportunity to continue this hate that we see across this country. And I'm so fucking tired of seeing it. I'm so tired of seeing these guys, these Tucker Carlsons, these Charlie Kirks, these people come out of the woodwork wearing their fucking sports blazers and thinking that they're the smartest people in the fucking room. It's asinine, it's annoying, and it's just continuing where we keep seeing this world turn to shit because young guys like him think they're the shit. And they've never done anything in their world. I've seen guys in the military take tougher shits than what Joe Mitchell is. I've seen guys eat MREs for a week and be in a porter shitter for a fucking day trying to make it out, harder life than Joe Mitchell has ever had in his life. And every time I see him, every time I see his stupid little fucking face, I get more annoyed because it's like, dude, you're how old is he? 26, 27 years old, 28 years old? How fuck and you have a 12-year-old haircut, man. Do something different. Do something fucking different. Be somebody better. It's easy to knock people down. It's easy to fucking tear people down. I'm doing it right now. It's fucking easy to do that. It's not easy to stand up and believe it and stand up for what you fucking believe in. It's not easy to stand up and when everybody's telling you wrong to stand up there and continue to believe what you believe. It's not. It's not easy to do that. So I give credit to Lindsey James for standing the fuck up and being the pastor she is and believing the faith she believes in and fuck Joe Mitchell for fucking even considering that he's somehow more Christian than fucking Lindsey James. Shut the fuck up. How about that? God, I'm getting shaky because I'm just so tired of these stupid attacks that are designed to do nothing more than do that little cocky smile and that smirk and she's a Pino. Well, you're a fucking rhino. You're a fucking maggot is what you are. That's all you are. You're nothing special. You've never done anything special in your life, and you want to sit there. And here's the way I like to look at it. And I've said this many fucking times on the campaign trail, Dr. Bob, and I learned this when I was in boot camp. My drill instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Frazier, said this shit all the time. Throwing snowballs from the cheap seats. That's what Joe Mitchell is. Joe Mitchell is those fucking Philadelphia fans that threw snowballs at Santa Claus. That's what he is. It's easy to throw things from the outside looking in. It's easy to fucking do that. It's easy to knock somebody down for their beliefs. It's easy to do that shit. It's not easy to stand up there when everybody tells you you're wrong to keep fighting. And that's why I know Lindsey James, she's the right person to win that seat. We need her in that seat because we need somebody who isn't going to take this shit as just another notch on their belt. It's not somebody that's going to, just play to their Republican base or whatever. She is there to serve people. She's there to fight for people. And that is why I love her. And that's why I can't believe that we're even having this fucking discussion. But as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is a little fucking puke. Talk about somebody who's never been punched in the face. Talk about somebody who's never ever done anything hard in their entire fucking life. That's Joe Mitchell. So here, I'll even say this. Joe Mitchell, you want to come on and have a conversation with me? We're glad to fucking have you, but you're not going to like that conversation. Come on to the Sage Against the Machine podcast, but we know you don't have the balls to do it. That's what we know. You want to talk about her not being Christian enough? You don't have the big enough balls to have a conversation with me, you little bitch. That's what I'll say. Any other things we need to talk about this, Dr. Bob? Because I'm going to keep going about how pathetic Joe Mitchell is.
I think you've pretty much nailed it.
Thank you. So that's how I feel. I'm just when I saw that, I'm like, it's literally like, I don't know, with pot calling the kettle black type shit. Like, come on, man, come the fuck on. Let's have real conversations about the issues. Let's have real conversations. How are you going to fix the economy, Joe Mitchell? You're sucking up to Donald Trump. How are you going to make Iowa better other than your fucking Republican talking points? What are you actually going to do? What you're going to do is keep fighting for people that are giving you money and making sure that you're rich while everybody else suffers because you don't give a fuck about them. That's how it is. So that is why Nathan is cussing for this week. I could do it all day long, and I'm sorry that I got a little bit too intense there, but at the end of the day, you come after Lindsey, you come after Josh Turek, you come after STG, you come after Christina Bohannon, good people that are trying to do all they can to serve their country and fight for people in Iowa, come after Rob Sand, whatever. I'm going to feel the same exact way. And here's the truth, Dr. Bob. I won't tell people what my religion is, what I grew up as. You know what it is. But I feel like I am more Christian than Joe Mitchell, and I stopped going to church when I was like 11 years old. So fuck you, Joe Mitchell. Now, moving right along, I wanted to say, we're getting down here on time. I wanted to say thank you again to Jackie Norris for coming on. But, Dr. Bob, I do want to tell people that we have a special episode coming up on Wednesday. We're going to do a special third episode this week, but it's going to air on Wednesday. And the way I'd like to tease this, Dr. Bob, is I think we're going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. What are your thoughts?
I'm looking forward to it. It's are you going to tell them who it is?
Yeah, we're going to have Congresswoman Haley Stevens on. I'm excited for that. I will say, Haley has a different opinions of politics that I do. She does things differently. We have a lot of differences, but I think that's good to have people like that on Dr. Bob, I think it's good to have conversations with people you have differences with, because that's how you learn, right? And I said it on the campaign trail many, many times. There's no comfort in the learning zone, no learning in the comfort zone. The only way you're ever going to learn anything, is to have uncomfortable conversations with people you might not want to have conversations with. Now, I do want to have a conversation with Haley. I'm excited to have her on, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun with her. But people have to tune in on Wednesday at 5 p.m. We'll have Haley Stevens on and get her thoughts on just the Democratic Party, working class issues, things like that.
And
So
for people that don't know who she is, she just lost the Democratic primary in
Michigan,
Michigan.
to Abdul Al Sayed. She's a sitting congresswoman as well, so she's been in D.C. for a little while now. But if you don't know who she is, look her up. She has a eccentric way of speaking, and I can't wait to have that conversation with her. So stay tuned. Wednesday we'll have her on. But again, I want to also say again, thank you to Jackie Norris. Happy birthday to Jackie Norris. I appreciate her. I consider her a friend. We've gotten emotional with each other on things, and I just really, really appreciate her. I appreciate her husband too. Any last thoughts, Dr. Bob, before we're actually ending like right on time? Any last thoughts before we end this?
No, I think this was very interesting. It was nice to have Jackie on, see how she's doing. So that was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, until next time, until Wednesday, you got to try to catch me on the Flippity Flip.